Buenas tardes, good afternoon, country collectors. So today's video is going to be a bit different than our normal travel videos. We had originally wanted to take you to the Xochimilco canals and enjoy it together, but unfortunately on our first trip there with our friends Laura and Ruben, we fell prey to a scam and our friend Ruben was assaulted, which resulted in us not wanting to go back so soon.
And we're not saying not to go to Xochimilco. In fact, we're saying go to Xochimilco. Just be careful. What happened to us is something that we hope doesn't happen to you. So we want to make this video to really help you not fall prey to that. People have been asking us for our entire trip here, have you had any negative experiences or do you just not show them? The truth is, we haven't had any negative experiences until this happened. So we really thought it was important and almost our responsibility to share this with you so that you don't go through the same thing. And you know what? In the end, we even had a silver lining that we're going to tell you about later on. But before we get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of our future adventures.
All right, so first things first, let's start with what is Xochimilco?
Ooh, good question.
So it's actually a neighborhood that is south of central Mexico City, and the canals run through it. And those canals were actually built by the Aztecs to transport water.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
You're actually out where the Aztecs lived and did all of this. You know what else is cool? Nowadays, both tourists and locals take these colorful boat rides all through the canals where you can enjoy it an afternoon, just having a good time or relaxing.
Yeah, well, all right, let's jump into the story then. So it started in, where were we? Roma Norte?
Yeah.
And we hailed a cab. A couple of them wouldn't take us. It was a Sunday, and I think it was just really busy. No Ubers would take us either. So we finally got this lady, and she agreed 400 pesos, which is $20 to take us there. And so we said, great. That was, I mean, it was an hour away, so that seemed quite reasonable.
Absolutely.
So as we're driving there, got to Xochimilco like right before, and she pulled over off the highway to the side of the road where there were all these guys on motorcycles, and they had these like official looking
vests on. They had little name badges. They seemed like they knew what they were talking about. But it was a little bit weird. You know, she just kind of pulled over to them and they were waving at us, but no other cars were stopping. So we went up and she was like, hey, we're going to this port. And
we wanted to go to Embarcadero Nuevo Nativitas. I believe it's the main port.
I think you're right.
That Laura had been to prior and that she recommended. So we said that to the guy, and he goes, no, you can't go there. It's closed today. So we're like, okay, like, great. This guy is helping us out. So he was like, I'll take you to Embarcadero Caltongo. So she said, okay, well, let's follow him. So we just got back on the road and followed him for what, like,
maybe 10 minutes. It wasn't that much farther. I mean, it's a relatively small area once you get out there. And we got to the port. Everything seemed okay. Then she asked for an extra 100 pesos, which is $5, because it was farther away, which, you know, we totally understand. We didn't agree to drive to this point anyway, so whatever. So we paid her, we got out, and we had a rough idea of what it should cost based on some research that Heidi had done, blogs we read, things we'd seen online about. It's basically 500 pesos per hour to go out. And
which is $25.
And people usually go for anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, though you can go longer if you want to.
I think 2.5 is like the normal. So you're gonna pay like 1,500 pesos for the boat, which is $75 for the whole boat. If that's 2 people or 10 people, like it's the same price. So we get out of the taxi and we're at this Caltongo port, the dock. And Ruben, our friend, he's from Spain, so he's fluent in Spanish.
If you've been following us, you know Ruben.
Hey, Ruben and Laura. So he went up to the guy that was there, and the guy said it would be 3,500 pesos for the 2.5-hour boat ride. And we were just like, absolutely not. Like, we know that it's supposed to be 500 pesos. At the other ports, it's actually posted at some of the other ports, like the Nativitas, it's posted as 500, so you know what you're supposed to pay, but I guess at this one, it was not posted. So he only got him down to 2,200 pesos, and like he would not budge.
I mean, Ruben is a great negotiator, and he's fluent in Spanish, like we mentioned. So it really shouldn't have been a problem, but it was obvious that we were tourists. And you know what? We've traveled enough to know that sometimes tourists do pay a little bit more. Whether it's fair or not, it's just the reality of things. Sometimes you pay a little bit more. 700 extra pesos is a lot
It's
to pay.
$35 more. But the thing is like we were there. We had just met Laura and Ruben the day prior.
Yeah.
For our vacation to spend time with them. So we were like, okay, whatever. Like, we're just going to do this. We're just going to get on the boat. Like, it's cool. We're going to cut our losses and just enjoy our day.
Something else to bear in mind is you're going to want things when you're out on these boats like music, maybe some drinks. Everything is going to cost extra. So originally they had wanted an extra $20 for the speaker. We said no, it's fine. We'll just use our phone. They asked us for a couple of other little extras, and we said no, we don't want a mariachi band in the boat. No, we don't want these things. Well, in the end, we ended up getting the speaker thrown in because we had paid more. So we're like, okay, it's not really $35 more. It's only $15 more.
Well, I think Laura asked Ruben to ask them to throw the speaker in, and they said yeah.
Because we were already paying so much more.
Yeah, and then so we go to get on the boat, and there was this señorita there, and she asked us if we wanted any drinks. And Laura and I got micheladas, and we asked her how much they were, and she said 100 pesos, so that's $5.
Huge micheladas, by the way.
And then she asked like any other drinks, and we said one Coke, a water, a Corona, and I think a Fresca. And then so we get on the boat, and about 5 minutes later she comes back with this huge blue bucket that's filled with probably 8 Coronas, a couple waters, and a few sodas. And we were kind of confused because we had only asked for 4 things. And so I looked at Ruben and I'm like, can you ask her like if this is included, just so we know before we get out there, start drinking them, and then we gotta pay later. He asked her 2 times.
So to ask her once, she said, sí. He asked again, and she was like, sí. So at this point, we paid for the micheladas. So everything on the boat was paid for already.
Yeah.
We had already paid for the boat. We paid for the captain. We paid for the micheladas. So everything should have been taken care of.
But remember this, because this was the thing that caused...
This was the linchpin
Yeah.
that really made everything fall apart and ended up leading to the realization that we had been scammed later on.
Yeah, but we'll get to that. So we get out on the canals, and it was so much fun.
I mean, it was not only a gorgeous day. These boats are
I think they're
every
called
color of the rainbow.
Trajineras.
Trajineras.
Yeah.
Sounds good to
They're
me.
not gondolas. Don't make that mistake.
They're not gondolas. We have been corrected a
Yeah.
couple of times. But you basically, we get on the boat. It's just the 4 of us and the captain, the speaker. We're playing some music. You're sitting in the shade. And as we leave, there are just boats everywhere filled with happy people
Yeah.
enjoying themselves.
Birthday parties.
Eating food.
Yeah, mariachi are on the boats. Vendors
It's
come
really
up in their
cool.
own little boats, and they sell you stuff. Like, you can get some food, some drinks, but make sure you ask for the price before you order them, because we ordered 4 tequila shots, and they came out to 800 pesos, which is $40, $10 a shot. And we said,
You know what, no thank you.
Yeah.
And the guy looked at us and in very good English said, you should have asked before you ordered them.
yeah.
And like
Which I understand too.
absolutely, but bear in mind we're in Mexico. A bottle of tequila can be as cheap as $5, and this was not like fancy tequila.
So
But-
that was another thing that we learned. And when you go there, make sure you're asking for the prices, because you don't want to get ripped off like that.
Absolutely, and you know what? You can actually bring all of your own
Yeah.
stuff on these boats, so you don't have to pay for anything if you don't want to.
You could bring all your drinks and your food, and actually that's what, I recommend you do that.
And that's what it seemed like most of the Mexican families were doing. They were showing up with cooler after cooler and just really enjoying themselves. I think some of them even brought their own mariachi bands.
And normally I do research, and so I know everything that's going on, but because we hadn't planned, like we were just going with our friends, and we hadn't planned to take you there yet.
We had gotten to
didn't-
Mexico City the night before.
Yeah. So if I would have done research, we probably could have avoided a lot of this. So if this is you doing research right now, like, good job, because now, after this, you will know about all the stuff we went through to help you out.
But you know what? Back to the fun.
Yeah.
You're on these canals. They're narrow canals, and it was the weekend. They were packed with boats, and no one is in a rush. The boats are kind of bumping into each other. You're moving down. There's people
Well, there's
cooking.
no motor. They push with
They're
like
pulling
a
you with a bamboo
pole. Yeah, Adam even got to do it.
I did. It was actually kind of fun and way harder than I thought it was.
Of course.
But there's vendors selling cotton candy. Heidi and Laura got these really cute little flower crowns that they wore around.
And then there's museums along the way too, where you can get out and go see the famous axolotl. It's like the salamander that is only native to the Xochimilco canals. So cute.
It's like a salamander in its juvenile phase, and it never grows up.
Yeah.
It's
like you.
It's just like me. I never grow up either. And you know, like they even had restaurants you could stop at along the way. It was a very cool, you know, just sort of relaxed way to explore.
I would love to go back.
Me too, and it was so much fun because the families on the other boats, everyone's waving, everyone's having a good time. Laura and Ruben danced some bachata for us.
On the front of the boat.
You know, I was playing some pretty sweet 80s music the entire way. It was a ton of fun.
So make sure you have your playlist ready too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so we had a great time. And then we get back to the port and we say bye to our captain and we're like, everything good, and we're about to leave. And then the guy who sold us the boat came up to Ruben, right?
Yeah.
And said like, you owe me for that cooler.
So
that cooler of drinks that we didn't ask for, that Ruben checked twice to see if it was included. He wanted how much for it?
I want to say he wanted another $30 on top of the cost. We'd already paid all the extra money that we shouldn't have paid for the boat, and then after checking twice, all of a sudden they want more money. So we basically flat out just said no. There's no chance this is gonna happen.
Well, Ruben was like, no, like I asked, she said it was included, I'm not gonna pay this. And then it got a little heated because you're being taken advantage of. And at that point, after being, you know, on the boat and paying extra for the tequila and extra for the boat already, you feel like you've been taken advantage of a lot, and you don't want to feel like that. So yeah, you're standing up for yourself. And so Ruben was like, no, we're not paying. And he was talking to the guy, and the guy was getting visibly upset, and Ruben was just like, you know.
And bear in mind, we're in Mexico, so a Corona costs less than $1.
Yeah.
You know, so even if we had 10 Coronas and a couple of waters, which cost less than 50 cents each, it was nowhere near $30. So not only were they trying to charge us, they were trying to really overcharge us. So we said no, and we started to walk away. Well, this guy took off and went and grabbed another guy who then came over. I guess he was like the head boat guy who kind of ran everything. And he was a lot more aggressive than the first guy, who was just kind of like, okay, you know, you have to pay, but it's not okay. Well, this guy started getting louder and louder with Ruben, and Ruben was honestly just very calmly explaining. We asked, she said, the woman was right next to us, she said that this is how much it cost, it was all included, and the guy said something like, do you even know how much a bottle of water costs? And Ruben said, yes, I do, it's 50 cents and you can buy it across the street. And when he said that, you actually can see right here in the video, he gets very violently shoved in the chest. And that's kind of where things went very wrong. They went from being kind of wrong to very wrong. And, you know, like, that's when the camera goes down. And
because Adam like rushed up there right away because he's like, you're not gonna put your hands on my friend, like
you're trying to take advantage of us, and now you're assaulting my friend. And I'm gonna tell you this as a traveler tip and a life tip: fighting rarely solves anything anywhere. Violence is never really the way you should be moving forward. But I lost my cool. I got very upset, and I immediately stepped forward. And I never got near the guy. Laura and Heidi actually grabbed me to hold me. But while this was all happening, a very large crowd of unhappy local boatmen and people from the port actually surrounded us in a very aggressive way. And it was scary. I mean, honestly, that's something else. When you travel, you need to realize that you're in somebody else's country. So people will generally have the back of the people from their country, regardless of knowing any other facts. Whether you got ripped off, whether somebody touched you inappropriately, it doesn't matter, because you know what? They're looking out for their own, which, you know, I think most people can probably relate to. So we were in a pretty sticky situation.
Yeah, but luckily, like, it seemed like forever. But only like a minute later, 2 police came up and they diffused the situation and they separated everyone. And so we walked across the street to like this ice cream place, and Adam met this.
I mean, it was actually before we walked across the street, you know, while the police were there trying to defuse the situation, and it was still really not clear what was going to happen. I felt a hand on my shoulder, and this very calming voice, shout out to David, who came up and said, "Hey, what's going on, bro?" And I explained to him, and he said, "Don't worry, I have your back." And, you know, I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about him. It turned out that later on when we went over across the street, he was a Mexican-American who served in Afghanistan. So thank you so much for your service. We really do appreciate you. But in the heat of the situation, this complete stranger came up and put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Don't worry, I have your back."
Yeah.
And he asked me what happened when I explained the situation. He said they also tried to charge them more, but as he put it, they're Mexican and they just weren't having it.
So they paid $500 an hour.
So it ended up being $1,500 for them. And he stood at my back, and with everyone staring at us, with everyone having that angry look in their eyes, he stood there and he told people to back up, and he had our back. So we walked across the street to the ice cream shop as the crowd got dissipated, and we started chatting. He was there with his mom and his sisters. They were down from Texas just visiting, and they were some of the kindest people. His mother was so concerned that our view of Mexico might have been negatively affected by this.
Which it hasn't been at all.
It has not been,
We
honestly.
understand everywhere in the world there's just some bad people, and unfortunately that day we happened to, you know, meet one of them.
And, you know, the mother was so kind to us. She paid for Heidi and Laura to use the bathroom. She refused the money. We were having trouble getting a taxi back.
Yeah.
So she went on her phone, got an Uber, refused to take our money for it, and got us in the Uber and was like, thank you for loving Mexico, thank you for understanding. And on the way home, we actually decided that we were gonna go someplace else, so the Uber diverted from its course.
Yeah.
She texted us within 30 seconds and was like, your Uber is not going where it's supposed to go.
How
And we
motherly
were like,
is that?
thank you so much, we appreciate you. We're actually going, okay. Well, a few hours later, we're at dinner and we get another text message at like 9 that says, hello, I'm going to bed. I just wanted to make sure that you all got home safely.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I have been choked up when I've told this story because the kindness of complete strangers. Like, on one hand, we had aggression and a scam and an assault, and on the other hand, in the same moment, we had kindness. We had someone who had no reason to step up for us, who did, who was not only Mexican but also American, that came to our aid, and the police were there as well to help really keep us safe. And in the end, I'm not sure if it makes us right or wrong, but the police didn't make us pay extra for what had happened, which leads me to believe that this is probably something that does happen more frequently than we want to think does.
And if you remember before, when we got off the highway and met those motorcycle guys, that was part of the scam. That port is open 365 days a year, that main port. But, you know, I think that they don't get a large number of traffic over at Caltango, so they set this up. They have these guys tell people that it's closed, and then they bring us over here, and maybe they get, you know, a bit of money
They
for
definitely
doing
get
that.
a little
And like,
kickback.
I was talking to Adam, and I was like, you know, like, I don't agree with that. I understand that. Like, I get why they do that. They want more business at their port. I totally understand that. What I don't agree with is them scamming us. If they would have charged us the same price,
1,500 pesos? Great!
we
Awesome
wouldn't-
day!
There would have been nothing, you know, if they would have told us these drinks are not included, you have to pay at the end, or, you know, okay, that's fine. Like, just being honest and telling us what it should have been, then there wouldn't have been, we could have avoided all of this.
And honestly, I think that the scam started even before that, when we were back in Mexico City, because our cab driver had told us that she was from Xochimilco. So if anything, she should have had the information about what was going on. So when she drove us there, like I said in the beginning, she drove us directly to the motorbike guys.
Yeah.
Other people were just driving down the highway. She drove us directly to them. And, you know, they all agreed with each other. They were all like, oh, yeah, they're closed, they're having a beauty pageant,
So
they're
maybe
doing
she
something.
did that because she knew she would get an extra 100 pesos.
An extra 100 pesos.
So just remember, like, if they do that and tell you it's closed, be like, no. Have them stay the course, go to the port that you want to go to.
And you know what? When we got home, we actually looked up this other port because we had no idea. And there were a bunch. I don't mean one or two. I mean, there were a bunch of reviews where other people had had a very similar situation.
Felt harassed.
Minus the
or-
assault, but harassed,
Aggressive,
overcharged, people
overcharged.
refusing to work with them,
Yeah.
and like just telling you inaccurate information, and that is so unfortunate.
I know.
Because this is such a wonderful country, and like we said before, I mean, even without the silver lining, it was just this much of a wonderful day that we had with our friends, a memory that we're definitely gonna always
And that's
have.
why I wore the shirt today that says choose happy, because you can't choose how other people are going to act towards you, but you can always choose in the way that you react to the situation. So we were upset and a little shaken up for a while, but we chose to see the good in it. We chose to remember the memories with our friends Laura and Ruben, and kind of put what happened on the back burner, but always keep it in our mind if we come into a situation like that. You want to be prepared so you can avoid stuff like this. But
For sure, and just so you know, Heidi chooses happy, and I choose Heidi because she is my happy.
You're so sweet, thank you. But yeah, that was basically the gist of our Xochimilco story
So,
there.
you know what? Some other options that you might be able to look into are you can book a tour in advance through Airbnb. You can
Yep.
do them through other tour companies who will actually take you there and take you home afterwards. That's a great option. Or you can go like we did and just go to the main port and know what the actual cost is, or go to whatever port and know what the cost is. One of the keys is you have to be prepared to walk away. If they're not going to give you the fair price, then just say no thank you and walk away, because that's the unfortunate part, is that they make you feel pressured. Like we were like, well, we drove all the way here, so who cares if it's an extra $35? An extra $35 is another night in a hotel here. It's another few meals. It's something that you can't just take for granted. So bear that in mind when you do go. Be kind. Don't go into this thinking that someone's is out to get you.
Yeah.
Just know that it's a possibility. Like
Right.
anywhere, everything that you do in your life carries inherent risk, whether it's driving in your car to the supermarket, going to school, or just hanging out with your friends. Travel. Everything has something that can go wrong. It probably won't. It probably won't happen very often if it does, but when it does, just be prepared to react the way that you should react.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we're sorry we couldn't take you to the canals with us. Maybe next time we're in Mexico City we can. But like we've said, we were on the fence of making this video because I don't know, we were just kind of nervous about it.
We didn't want to put any negative vibes out in the air about
Yeah.
Mexico because, as we know, coming from where we come from in the States, Mexico can get a very negative vibe
Yeah,
or
the
negative
media
connotation
and
from the
Hollywood,
media.
you know how they portray it, and it's completely false.
We've been all over the world, and this is one of the most beautiful countries with a magical culture and people that will touch your heart every day.
Yeah, so our hopes were just that when you go there, you know when you see something, you can avoid it, and you know the price and what you should pay, so you don't, end up in the same boat that we were in.
Knowing is half the battle.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We're so happy you're here today. If you enjoyed this video, give us a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to...
Bling, 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 the bell.
We'll see you
Next time.
Adios.